listening to The Gender Rebels.
I'm Kathleen, a cis woman and ally.
And I'm Faith, a trans woman.
Gender Rebels is a question and answer podcast that explores life outside the gender binary.
A big thanks to our Patreon supporters.
If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/genderrebels. Hey everyone, I'm Kat.
And I'm Faith.
Faith, we have new patrons to
thank. Oh my gosh, we love our patrons.
Yes, we want to thank Sizik, S-I-Z-I-K, very cool name by the way. And we also want to thank Athena Tate. You guys, thank you so much.
Thank you. Your support means so much to us.
And if you're listening now and you want to support, there are links down below. Or don't, the show's free, it's cool, but we love our supporters.
Yeah. All right, so before we get started today, one quick correction. We did our episode on the Transgender Wellness Conference in Philly.
Yes.
Had a great time. Listen, give that a listen and go at some point. But we actually got a few comments because apparently we had said the Manzoni Center ran everything and people wanted to let us know that the Trans Planning Committee actually played a huge role in this. That Manzoni provide the space and the Trans Planning Committee actually kind of booked the guests.
And they've been doing this from the start, and Mazzoni is a great organization and a group that's really good for transgender people, but has become a partner in the planning and aren't 100% of it. So thank you very much.
We weren't leaving you out, committee.
Thanks for the heads up.
Now stop emailing us.
All right, Faith, I got another question.
Yes, go ahead.
What do you know about illegal silicone injections?
This is actually something that, thankfully, in my transition has always kind of been a negative.
Okay.
For me, I remember reading on the website TS Roadmap, link down below. They're kind of an older website that has quite a bit of information about transition. Everything from how to pick a name, how to do your handwriting, how to get on hormones, and they have a whole section about dangers, including here's some advice for how to do sex work safely if you need to do sex work to survive. But they also had a big thing on silicone injection, and this is something that I had read about a few times. I thankfully read about it early enough, and I knew enough about it that I didn't really...
You weren't tempted.
Wasn't tempted. So what silicone injections are is they basically take silicone and they literally just inject it into your body. So they actually physically inject this below your skin, even possibly below the muscle. It depends on the practitioner. And they will basically fill up your butt, fill up your hips, give you some nice curves, fill up your boobs. So basically what they do is they take a tube of silicone or silicone.
What's the difference?
Silicone is an element. It's basically sand, is what we know it as. That's actually silicon dioxide or quartz. Silicone is basically a polymer created with silicon and water, carbon, bunch of other junk in there. That's kind of like a plasticky gel type thing. It's used in breast implants, apparently in catheters. Contact lenses are made of it.
Bandages. Yeah.
So it's just kind of a flexible sort of plasticky,
so it's
solid liquid thing.
So we're talking about injecting the flexible plasticky thing and not about injecting the metal or quartz or
no, we're not injecting quartz. It's the plasticky stuff. Right. So they inject that in your butt, in your hips, kind of anywhere you want to have in your face too. In your face, you can have cheekbones, anywhere you want kind of more curvaceous look to yourself. And
so this was a great talk, a really amazing talk by Kendall Stevens.
Basically, what this is actually very, very, very incredibly dangerous. Let's get that out of the way. This is not a sanctioned medical practice.
First of all, don't do this. Don't do this. Even if a doctor or someone who tells you they're a doctor says that you can do this, don't do this.
Yeah, but this is something if you see, say, some trans women, you may see particularly in pornography, you might see trans women who are super duper curvaceous, and it's how did that happen? Unless you start hormones at 12, that's not going to happen. and it's basically silicone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them have had silicone injections.
And there are safe silicone implants. Obviously, there's breast implants. Silicone ones were taken off the market for a while, but they're back on now, and they've worked out the kinks, and you don't have to have saline implants. You can have silicone implants. You can have silicone butt implants. There's hip implants. Like, there are legitimate medical ways to do this, but there are also injections.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. If it's an injection, run away. If it's an implant, check your insurance. And it won't be cheap.
No, and that's one of the big differences. So the way this works, like we said, it's not medically sanctioned.
Mm-mm.
What it's generally done is kind of almost like Tupperware party, or kind of like someone will come into a community and be like, oh, or a friend may be like, oh, we're doing silicone injections over at this place, and this person, they'll take you to a hotel room.
Or their apartment,
it's something like that. Someone might even be wearing scrubs. They might have the tubes of the stuff, and it'll be super affordable. Those of you who are transitioning, no, transition ain't cheap.
Mm-mm.
This stuff is. You can get your hips done, your butt done, everything for like $1,500.
But you know what else is cheap? Scrubs and a white coat. You can just buy that.
Yeah.
If you see that, that doesn't mean you're talking to a medical professional. There are stores that sell uniforms for nurses and doctors, and you just buy it. So a lot of times they're going to have medical-esque language and try to appear medical, or call it a clinic, or say that they have training, or explain that it is the exact same product that a doctor would use in their office. Be skeptical. Keep your eyes open. Look for red flags, and if you see them, run.
Yeah. Generally, the silicone that they're using is from Home Depot.
Mm-hmm. It's like caulk for your bathroom.
It's like they're using industrial grade kind of silicone, and there is medical silicone, and this is very different. Medical silicone, for like an ounce of it, is going to cost like $20,000.
It's expensive.
For this, a tube costs $3,
and they're not going to charge you $300 to put thousands of dollars worth of a medical silicone into your body.
Yeah.
So let's say some of our listeners decide, well, thank you for the information. With all due respect, I'm the one in charge of my body.
Yeah.
And these curves are what I need. This is what I can afford. Clearly, people have survived this. Faith and Kath aren't saying it's deadly. So I'm going to do it. What could they expect from that experience?
Well, basically, we actually attended a talk by a woman who had gotten this in her breasts, her butt, her hips, and her face.
Her face.
And she said basically, a friend of hers, so-called friend of hers, was doing this. She felt like she was living on the streets. She needed this to pass, to actually live her life.
Because it was dangerous to be on the streets.
Yeah, poor, homeless,
trans, but not passing.
Yeah, and basically this was she figured this was her way out. And these people who do these injections prey upon desperate people like this. They are predators. So they basically take someone to a hotel room. Generally, why a hotel room? So that they can leave and be out of town the next week.
So you don't know where they live.
And they basically will just sit you down, give you like a numbing agent.
Yeah, I think she was saying injected lidocaine or something like that. Apparently, it was injected via a huge needle. I was picturing like a basketball pump.
I mean, lidocaine, they generally just do tap, 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 tap. Oh, you're talking about the silicone huge...
No, first the numbing agent with a huge needle.
Oh, okay.
They even injected this numbing agent through her nipple for the injections of silicone into her breasts.
That sounds very painful.
Oh, my God.
This whole thing sounds painful. Apparently, it's excruciating. Like, utterly excruciating pain. As painful as you would think getting a bunch of plastic injected between your skin and your muscle.
I mean, that was the numbing agent first, but then, then it was injecting the silicone itself. Apparently, the numbing agent helps somewhat, but not very much.
No.
I believe she said it was a shock. It was excruciating.
Lidocaine is topical. And again, these aren't medical professionals doing this. A medical professional would know, if you're going and messing around with internal tissues, lidocaine, a topical, is not going to do this.
Not going to do much. Yeah.
Yeah.
She described the experience as feeling like liquid fire. It was pure horror. And she was bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
So, cool. $300. Get some curves. That's what it's like.
Yeah, and apparently afterward, they sealed the wounds with super glue.
Super glue.
Which you can actually do. The U.S. Army
is a thing.
The U.S. Army actually uses super glue in their first aid kits.
They do.
It's kind of a quick way to stop bleeding.
Mm-hmm. When you're not able to do stitches. I've even heard of some injuries that are in emergency rooms. They'll use super glue. Like that, that's not the problem here, except it sort of is.
Yeah.
That it's a non-medical professional making the decision to use super glue, which she probably bought along with the caulk at Home Depot when she was picking up her medical equipment. And also this practitioner gave her aspirin.
Yeah.
Aspirin
to
like there's a lot of painkillers out there, but she gave her the blood thinning painkiller. That's cool. Super glue, aspirin, and said goodbye. Yeah, that was her aftercare.
Mm-hmm. And if you've ever, dealt with a human body, say by having one, they can react to foreign bodies with inflammation.
Mm-hmm. Ever had a bad piercing? I have.
And inflammation is basically your body sending lots of fluids, lots of blood, lots of lymph to the affected area to try to kind of address the foreign body, fight it off if it can, and inflammation can really cause a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this woman said that her body was at like the silicone that she had paid for was actually like leaking back out these wounds.
Yeah. Leaking out her nipples, I believe she'd said.
Your body does not... When you put anything foreign into your body, be it a pacemaker or a silicone injection, anything like that, a piercing, your body's got defense mechanisms. It does not want these things in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say there's not reasons to have things in there.
Of course.
But
be like an organ transplant or a pacemaker or a piercing. That's done in a clean and healthy way. Yeah. The whole business of medicine is about helping your body heal itself and not letting the body destroy itself in the process.
Yeah.
So
this is why I'm having professional medical practitioners involved with things like sticking stuff in your body can actually be very good.
Yes. It was interesting. She was talking about the facial injections because she got her butt and her boobs and her hips and her face. And she said she was in this hotel room with this woman who claimed to have medical training and was using medical grade silicone. And the woman said, "Yours is the first face I've ever done."
Oh, it's something you never want to hear.
No. And her face reacted quite badly.
Yeah.
To the silicone, but the inflammation did go down.
Mm-hmm.
The body reacted and then stopped reacting.
Yeah.
And this woman went in for 2 to 3 sessions, spent about a total of $3,200 on these injections.
And that's something, by the way, that they start out telling you, oh, it's just a couple hundred. It's just a couple hundred. And then the price kind of keeps going up.
Yep. Also, if you've done one boob, you can't not do the other boob.
Yeah.
And they know that.
So this is also something when we talk about your body dealing with foreign substances. Your body will often, if it can't destroy it or get it out somehow, your body will often form a protective layer around it. Do you know what that's made of? I'm not 100% sure what it's made of, but your body will basically form, it may be calcium, it may be something else, but your body will form kind of a hard protective layer around the thing. And if you've ever seen, quote, bolted on tits, where it just looks like a sphere, oftentimes that's what's happened. It's a complication that can occur with breast implants.
Oh, I thought bolted on tits was the look people went for.
It depends, but some of them might like harden and or they fit in weird place. If you've seen a bad boob job, it's very possible that this kind of hard protective shell, which your body can produce to
I'm not too sure.
kind of isolate an invader. This happened to this woman. She got hard patches.
Yeah, and I've heard of silicone, and this woman even pointed out, cis people get this too, men and women. Women want cheekbones, men want, like, more developed calves. Like, people get injections, cis and trans. And, this woman telling us about it described how some of it hardened in her face and in her hips. And either that's something about the body reacting to it or the body forming that protective layer or whatever it is. But when she complained to her, totally trained medical practitioner, what did the woman tell her?
To just roll it out with a rolling pin.
Get a rolling pin. Break it up.
Yeah.
Guess how good that felt?
That did not feel very good. That felt, and she said excruciating.
That one was
so this whole thing just super painful. But she was also getting things like, and again, this is your body's reaction. This is your body's natural reaction to having a foreign body that's not being managed by a medical professional. Constant itching. Really, really sharp pain. And eventually for her, she went through a healing phase. And this often happens to people who get this is it heals up. Your body heals. It does its best job healing.
Yeah.
And you look pretty curvaceous and foxy. And you're like, this is amazing. This is wonderful. For a few years. And then a few years later, this stuff starts causing way more problems.
Yeah. She talked about something horrifying that I hadn't thought of called migration.
Yes. Gravity always wins.
Yeah. And this is why implants are handled by medical professionals who have precisely shaped implants and know precisely where to place them so that they will stay in place when you just shoot the stuff.
It's also why if you get implants, they're always really high up.
Because they drift?
Because they're designed. If you see someone showing off their breast implants they just got that day or like 2 days ago, they'll be like up around their collarbone.
Because it settles down.
Because it's designed to kind of settle down.
And that's what happens when it's just squirted into your system too. What did she say? It goes to the lowest point. So she said her breasts, it migrated into her armpit and rib cage. Some of it navigated kind of up in her décolletage, the space above the breasts. Her face got droopy. Apparently silicone's pretty heavy. It's dense.
Yeah, it's very dense
stuff, so that makes sense. And of her other problems, other than itching constantly and itching face and thighs and butt, she had necrosis.
Yes, and if you don't know what necrosis is, don't Google it. Especially with an image search. Necrosis, necrotic, it basically means your flesh is dying.
Dying tissue. But like a pocket of dying tissue inside of you, so it's toxic, basically. It's already dying, but it's like the liquefied, gross, dead tissue inside you poisons the rest of the tissue around it. She said she couldn't sit down.
Yeah.
And that's just like some of the bad stuff when it's in you, when it's under your skin or wherever it goes. But
if it's possible that this stuff can get in your bloodstream, and if silicone gets in your bloodstream, there's a technical medical term for it, which is bad. This can screw up your kidneys. It can screw up your lungs. It could lead to kidney failure. It could lead to organ failure. It could lead to all your organs failing, which is called death.
Another medical term.
Yes.
Might want to write that down. It's death. Yeah, she is not dead.
No, she's not.
She was speaking to us. She recovered from this, but how did she?
This is actually, again, you pay $3,000 to get this done, and then 10 years later, you are going to pay $100,000 to get this out of your body.
Removed, yes.
Because
to get all the problems treated.
They literally have to go in, open you up, find this stuff and remove it.
Pull it all out.
Yeah. This woman, we went to her talk. She ended up getting a double mastectomy to deal with this stuff.
Because they can't see anything in a mammogram. You could be getting breast cancer, maybe related to all the silicone in your system, maybe not, but it's super dense. Your doctor isn't even able to see if you have breast cancer.
Yeah, at 31, and again, she probably had this at about 18 or so. So 10 years later, literally is like paying tons of money, having tons of surgery. I think she said, it's like basically a year of surgery, recovering from surgery. Okay, recovered enough from that one. Let's do the next one just to get this stuff out.
And the worst thing is when she first started to seek help from the doctors, and thank God she had good insurance and stuff like that, so that wouldn't necessarily be all out of pocket, but it was, I think it came out to $60,000.
Hers was $60,000, yeah, and she's still going.
And she's still going, but initially when she went to doctor's appointments and explained what she did and what her problems were, those doctors wouldn't touch her. Because she didn't really know what was in her. She didn't really know how, what techniques and what methods were used to inject it. She couldn't really say how much or where exactly it was, although of course she knew where a lot of it was. But there were a lot of unknowns. And for that reason, the doctors would say, we can't touch you because once we touch it, it's ours. Once they start on the process of helping her get all of this out, they're responsible for anything that goes wrong from there, which, is a shitty place for a doctor to be in, but a shittier thing for a patient to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, if, what would go wrong from there, maybe it was the silicone, maybe it was a shitty doctor. Like you put yourself in a place where you're very vulnerable at the point in your life when you're looking to fix this.
Yeah.
Also, when you're getting all of these surgeries done and you're getting everything fixed, you can't be on HRT.
No. Because I guess if your breast and if it's affecting your breast tissue and you're in the middle of that,
She did show us some surgery pictures and gave us warnings beforehand, but one of them was her breasts before and after, and the doctors were actually really good. They were able to save her nipple.
Yeah,
she has actual medical implants now. She has breasts, even though she had the mastectomy. But there was like some stitches kind of near one of her nipples, maybe just like an inch long, but a series of stitches. And for the rest of it was just, her skin. She pointed out that injury, and she said back in the day when she was rolling out the bumps in her breasts, one of the bumps burst, and apparently it started to eat through her skin.
Oh my gosh.
And there was this infection under her skin until it was out of her skin. That came out after surgery, and that's why she has that scar on her breast. She was saying she had tubes in her breasts after the surgery. She was draining for 3 to 4 weeks. She had to wear expanders in her breast. Once the silicone was taken out, she had to have those expanders in place. Those were hard as rocks, and she had to get saline pumped into her breasts at every doctor visit.
Yeah. This is just... It's heartbreaking to hear about this, especially someone who at age 18 is taken advantage of.
Yes.
When they're in a very vulnerable position. And that's the worst part about these silicone injections is that these are predators who find desperate people and promise them something that they can't deliver in order to get their money. And then they give them slapdash procedures that end up really fucking with like their entire body and all their health. And it's just, this is literally the worst. This is people preying on the desperate. And if you're in a situation where someone does approach you about this, is that a situation where someone should call the cops? What do you think? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to...
See, I'm not a huge fan of cops in general.
I'm not either, but I think if I did, I would be tempted to. I would at least make a call and just say, this person's offering these injections. People die. People literally die from these, this woman whose talk we attended, she survived through a lot of medical intervention. and other people die on the table, on the hospital bed.
Mm-hmm. And the people responsible for doing her injections. She knew of her person, of course, but a few other people. She talked about how some of them died from this. They were injecting themselves or, giving each other injections. This is deadly. People die from this. Not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time. And when they don't die from it, then there's horrific medical consequences that hopefully they can deal with. See, in the case of whether to call the cops or not, I don't know if...
I would. I personally would, because they're preying on people. And, and if you're smart enough and you know enough about this to be able to say no, they're going to go find someone else.
That's what I'm thinking. It might be better to just tell all your friends and tell them to tell their friends. Maybe that's the best way.
I don't think this is a situation where you be polite. I think this is a situation where someone is hurting people.
I'm just saying, if you're a sex worker or if
you're in a situation, okay.
If there's something, because that kind of goes together with some of these vulnerable populations. If you're poor, if you've had trouble with cops before,
I could see there being problems. So take into account your own situation. Of course. But these people are horrible.
Yeah.
And what they do to people is horrible, and what they do to the trans community, most desperate and most vulnerable people, is horrible.
Yeah, it's unspeakable. If any of you are listening, go fuck yourselves. Seriously, hard, with your silicone gun.
Yeah. So hopefully through this, we've been able to, get you guys to understand that beauty is not worth this, and that anytime anyone's offering something that sounds too good to be true, it almost certainly is. So you've got to take care of your health, number one.
Yeah.
Absolutely number one.
You're all you've got. We hope we grossed you out enough to scare you away from this. I know overnight results and gorgeous curves, I know how tempting it is, and how, especially if it's affordable, and something the speaker pointed out, if all your friends got it and they look great.
Yeah.
I get it. I get why someone would do this.
It's so,
But don't.
Please don't. So,
please don't. So this was a great talk, a really amazing talk by Kendall Stevens. We so appreciated hearing it. We're going to let her know that we talked about her on this episode. It was amazing and insightful and gruesome and horrifying, and she's an amazing lady.
She was also very funny.
She
had a good sense of humor, and I think once you've been through that kind of thing, you have to.
Yes, and she has a motorcycle, and she has a motorcycle helmet with cat ears, and it's adorable. Yeah.
So guys, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't get illegal silicone injections, please. And we will talk to you next time.
All right, everyone.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep making more great content, go to patreon.com/genderrebels.
We have many different levels of support and lots of great rewards,
including drinks with the Gender Rebels at Stonewall.
Please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That makes it easier for other people to find us.
And send your questions to questions@genderrebels.com. Or find us on Twitter @The Gender Rebels.
Music for The Gender Rebels is by Jasper the Colossal. Follow the link down below or download them on iTunes today.
And for all our episodes, visit genderrebels.com.
The Gender Rebels is a Come Back Sync production, copyright 2018. All rights reserved.
And to all you gender rebels out there, keep rebelling.
Bye.
Bye.